Welcome back to Carl and Rick Talk Risk. Rick?
Hey everyone, in case you missed it, and Carl's going to edit it out, I'm sure, but Carl just admitted that he's human. Woohoo! Who knew that Carl was human? He procrastinates like everyone else, and occasionally is not 100% hyper anal retentive.
I do indeed.
It takes a lot of work to keep that beard so neatly trimmed. But anyhow,
proud procrastinator right here. It's amazing how many problems you can just ignore for long enough that they go away. Isn't that the famous, what's it, Kermit? Forget the saying.
I don't know. I only watched the Muppets for the two guys in the balcony seat.
Yeah,
I forget their names. They were my heroes. I want to grow up to be both of them. I think it's happened. I think I even got the face of one and the hair of the other. But anyhow,
Statler and Waldorf. I didn't know that.
They're my heroes, man. They were awesome.
I didn't know that.
Oh man, Carl. I mean, did you have any education? I mean, seriously, have you always been a big knob? Have you always been a wrist knob? Like, I mean, a golf playing wrist knob? Like, seriously.
I know. I didn't watch a lot of Muppets growing up. It wasn't.
You're the one that started this off on quoting the Muppets, but anyhow.
Anyway, my one is actually okay. I totally messed it up. It's not Kermit at all. It's Peanuts. There's no problem so big it cannot be run away from, or my version, it cannot be forgotten entirely. Anyway,
I think the old better quote is 9% of the things I worried about never came to be. So, anyhow.
Yeah, exactly.
Either you're going to do a lot of editing or we're going to start on a topic here soon.
Okay, let's start our topic.
Actually, I suspect most people tune in for the random rantings, but anyhow, this might be our biggest podcast and we never talk about anything.
I know, we should just make one 100% rant. We wanted to talk about the a lot of things have changed in the age of AI that we're still kind of getting used to. Probably even quicker in your area in academics than mine. It is rolling out in companies, but I mean academics is really dealing with it fast. But of course, there's a little bridge between academics and a career, and that is of course the interview, the hiring process, and that's something that's changed a lot with AI as well. And I think it would be really interesting to talk about, and we could come at this from both angles here, right? From the people interviewing and the people being interviewed. But how do you test knowledge of AI prompting, I think, during an interview? How do you get the candidate that's comfortable, that's experimented, that's outside of his classes with Rick at Dalhousie, is also experimenting and coming up with new things and doing things in different ways that will make them a good fit in the new type of risk management career that's coming into focus. So yeah. And I think this lends itself pretty well to the interview process, right? Because you can give each of the candidates the exact same underlying data. You can give them the exact same model. Nobody gets a more powerful version than the other. I'm assuming this is in person. And then getting them to come up with a prompt to provide useful output that's really interesting and valuable to the hiring manager. One risk, and then I'll see where you want to jump in, Rick, and have thoughts. I can already see one risk, and it relates to our last episode, which I haven't posted yet, where we were talking about when not to use AI, which is in the first draft, because one of the problems is the reviewers of that work have to deal with all the technical language and how seemingly perfect the text is. So yeah, I'm not quite sure how you deal with that. Maybe it's more outputting visuals or something like that, because otherwise the hiring manager is just going to be, floored by how wonderfully written it is, and that misses the point of the interview and of using prompting well. Yeah. What do you think? How can candidates be tested on their prompting and AI knowledge today?
First off, I think you got to stop trying to have your various AI models interbreed when you're preparing for these podcasts. Because, secondly, I'm about to call the Dutch police on you to have you committed. But anyhow, first off, I would ask the candidate how they used AI to prep for the interview. Again, I'll go with the assumption that it is an in-person interview.
Yeah.
Okay. Secondly, I think that even with I have a real problem with the entire premise of the question. I think that if you are interviewing for AI prompting skills, just interview a damn AI engine. Okay. I have real problems with the entire premise of this. I think that what I would do is I would give them the exact same data as you said, and I would give them 3 different personalities for which they have to produce output from their prompts. Okay. And that I think is far better, because I believe that AI use is only as good as your ability to keep the end user, i.e., a human, in mind. And so I don't think that there is such a thing as the best AI prompt.
Yeah.
There's only the ability to keep the end user in mind is the key skill.
They're somewhat related, right? Like, I mean,
No. Actually, well, I'll be quite frank. I haven't really performed the experiment. Perhaps this is a fun thing to do this afternoon while I'm at the car shop waiting for my car to go through its annual or biannual inspection. Maybe I will give design 3 different prompts for 3 different people on the same data to see what comes out. But I think that if you're using AI in any way, shape, and form without first considering who the end user is, and if your AI output, in whatever shape or form that takes, is not tailored for the user, and it's not just saying, putting in your prompt, assume that the end user is X. It's actually much more, I believe it's much more than that, and should be much more than that.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not getting dramatically different output, then I'd say you're a poor prompter.
Yep. No, I agree. And what I have in mind with a quality prompt is what kind of context do you give it? Who the output is for? That certainly could be part of it. A very important part, right? If it's for a senior decision maker, you probably want to frame it differently than for an analyst who's using this information for a larger research project. Yeah, and what the output should look like, that should be described in a prompt. So I'm really thinking of, like, let's say 10 qualities a prompt should have to some degree or another, end user being one of them, and getting a candidate to prompt during the interview is one way of seeing, okay, does this person actually, do they get this? Or do they just type in, give me the var for this data set?
Well, but again, I think that we can go to some more second level thinking. So, for example, do they design a prompt specifically to pass the Turing test? Okay. Do they design a prompt that will pass the Peter Thiel test? Isaac, what is it that you believe that most people disagree with you with? Do they design a prompt that will truly show that there's a human in the loop? Um, I would be looking more. The accuracy, I would think, is table stakes. Okay, the appropriateness is table stakes. I would be looking for, are they aware that you're probably asking this of, for fun and giggles, let's assume 8 other candidates. What will set them apart? What's going to give them a higher than commodity output? Output is the commodity. Okay, output is of almost no value. It's how the output is framed, it's how the output is marketed, it's how the output is communicated.
Yeah.
Those are all the things that I would look for. Are they starting with the awareness that it's a competition to rise above the slop?
Yeah. Well said. I must say, when we first started this conversation, I think my focus was a little bit in the wrong place. But as you're talking, I'm like, yeah. Now it's been a while since I've had an interview, so you get a bit rusty. But if I was a hiring manager, I think I would want to see the chat history more than the output at the end of the day, right? To get to your point, because I would want to see.
No.
Because you want to see some iteration. You want to see that are you correcting
No,
AI? Are you
actually, if I'm hiring someone, and assuming already aware of the data and already aware of what I think should be shown from the data, okay, I want to judge them solely on output. Okay, because if you're a really good prompter, there's a myriad of ways to get great results. And basically, you want to judge who gets across the finish line in the most flying colors. And how they get there, assuming that it's legal or moral, you really don't care. And you really shouldn't care. And you really can't care, particularly the fact that you're telling them to use a LLM or some other AI engine. You're already basically saying that you really don't give a flying flipping rolling donut because you're relying upon a black box. So how you basically make love to the black box is irrelevant because the guts of it is in the black box.
Yeah, fair point. I guess I'm honed in on. I'm worried about the false positive. So they all get to a great output, fine, but along the way in the chat history, does somebody question the AI? Are they skeptical of it? Are they using it to challenge results to get where they want to go, or are they just taking it wholesale? Which is something we've spoken about before. A lot of people take it wholesale and they don't question.
But again, that will be evident in the output. So, basically what you're advertising, if you're a complete asocial dork who can't interact with the world, please apply to Carl because he has, openings for you. Yeah, in class yesterday, this is perhaps a little off topic, but perhaps it's incredibly timely. So in class yesterday, I teach the core finance class in our undergraduate program. and I gave a lecture on digitization. Okay, so basically I have 340 students giving this talk on digitization, of which admittedly systems theory and complexity thinking is a huge component of it. And I do this because in academic finance and in risk management, we kind of assume, and the students implicitly assume, particularly at this stage, they're third year students, that there's an answer for everything. And in finance and in risk, for all the really great questions, there isn't an answer. The answer is always maybe. Okay, which um, if the answer isn't maybe, if the answer is definitive, 7.2697, well, give up on your degree because you're already being replaced by a bot in some way, shape, or form. So we talked about digitization. And I should preface our program is a co-op program, so our students have to get 3 co-ops. So they're, the class at this stage of the year, they're really concerned about getting the next co-op. We have a great management career services function, but the management career services function is focused on getting them a job. I don't really care about people who want a job. I want people who want a great job. And my thing is that great jobs are only given by great people to great people. They're not given by organizations. They're not given by HR departments. They're not given by people who pass through AI interview filters, yada, yada, yada. So while we're going through digitization, I went through the thought experiment. Yes, it's hot in the Netherlands right now. It's nice and cool here in Halifax, Nova Scotia.
Oh.
Albeit it's rainy day, but it's just so green. It's just so gorgeous. But anyhow, I digress. I went through this brief thought experiment that I think is relevant to this. And I said, let's assume that you want me to get to know you. Let's just assume that perhaps I'm a hiring manager and you want to work for me. So let's do a thought experiment. How best am I going to get to know you? Am I going to get to know you best by a resume and cover letter that you draft? Am I going to get to know you best through a resume and cover letter that you draft, but enhance through AI editing? Am I going to get to know you best through you totally letting AI, through access to your social media and all your friends' social media, draft a cover letter and resume for you? And I point out to them that if they think about it for a minute, and if they're honest about, most of them will come back with the order of preference being the totally AI drafted, then the AI enhanced, and then the one written by them. But then I asked a question, repeated it actually. What if your objective was for me to best get to know you? Now let's put the ranking and a 15-minute coffee chat.
Mhm.
Not a structured interview. Okay. Just 2 people sitting down face to face, shooting I suppose I can't say the word for the expression, but shooting the whatever. No structure, no formal questions, no questions about topic X, academic topic X or Y or risk or VAR, okay, or semi-variance or semi-standard deviation, okay? What's going to work best? And all of a sudden it clicked. The resume and cover letter, no matter how good it is, no matter how good the digitization is, will never surpass the in-person, except if you happen to be an axe murderer, or except if you happen to be a total, unbelievable social zero.
Yeah. Yeah.
Only the lowest of the low of the low of the low will not be best represented by a totally unfiltered, unstructured, more or less unplanned interview.
Yeah.
And ultimately, my view is that risk is about people. Everything in risk that we can quantify, okay, is of almost no relevance. Risk is about people. Risk is, and I'll use the 19 definition of uncertainty. People and uncertainty, or I'll go to the next level, VUCA, which is what I actually believe. Okay? LLMs fundamentally cannot deal with VUCA or people or uncertainty. Now, here's the thing. Someone yesterday kind of knocked me on my feet. It's almost, or off my feet. It's almost as if they took a baseball bat to my head. And they asked me why, based upon something I put on LinkedIn, why I was so anti-AI. Actually, I'm very, 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 very pro AI. But AI is to do what AI does, and people are to do what people do.
Yeah.
And just like you don't mate a kitten with a horse, okay, you don't try to commingle in risk management what AI can do with what the human can do. Now,
Yeah.
let's call it spade a spade. Some people in your risk department, if you have a typical risk department, are basically bots that breathe.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, so
Yeah.
I have trouble with your entire premise, but I think that does their output reflect that they are a human in the loop? That's the ultimate criteria.
Yeah. No, we never agree on the question, which is a good thing. I think we come at things from such different angles. So I like that.
But you see
Yeah,
that's the power of cognitive diversity.
that is.
That's a feature, not a bug.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah. Yeah, I'm sold on the idea. You know what? I just want to comment on this. I really like the approach of giving the three options, and then once they've come back with an answer, give the give the four options, because you know what, it tells students that they really need to like get into their heads. It's not about you. You need to get outside of your own shoes into the hiring manager's shoes. You need to understand what they want, who they are. One thing I learned coming across the pond to Europe, they really, well, at least to the Netherlands, maybe just my company, who knows, but they really focus on team dynamic. So it's really not, they assume you know risk management, which, maybe it's a fair assumption, but are you going to fit into the team? Are you going to work well with other people? Are you going to think you're the star? Because then we don't need you. And at first I was like, what is this? This is bizarre, because if you've got a job in at least the US, less so in Canada, they do want stars. It's a different sort of dynamic. Anyway, I like the shift that, and I think most students will get it without you telling them that, oh, of course, I need to do the 15-minute unstructured coffee chat and get to know this person and think about, what do I want to ask? What are they going to ask me? It's the most intimidating, but it gets you out of, oh, I need to have the perfect resume, which is what a lot of students do.
Never,
So,
ever, 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 ever give your resume to someone until they ask for it. Because if you lead with it, it just becomes a lazy person's. By the way, I want to go back to your comment about teamwork.
mm,
Okay. Again, in this lecture on digitization, which was mainly about systems thinking and complexity thinking, I did bring up two things that are very relevant. Rita McGrath's HBR article on the three eras, where she says that we're now coming into the era of empathy. I also brought up C. Wright Mills' concept of sociological imagination. So I believe that empathy and sociological imagination are the two key things that allow a person to, there are two key things that not only allow a person to succeed in this age of digitization, because you have to remember, it's not just AI. There's a whole host of other digital things, such as expert systems, 3D printing, yada yada yada. Okay, and uh, empathy and sociological imagination. Uh, can you calculate VAR, massive eye roll, which I don't know comes across on the screen. but that is so 1992. Okay. And yeah, that was probably competitive skill in 1992. But I hate to tell you, we're now in 2026, and everyone and their dog who has an undergraduate degree in finance or risk can calculate VAR. Okay, or at least if they uh, got out of any of my courses, and that's I don't even know if that's table stakes. It's
Yeah.
I think it's walking to the table stakes. Um,
Yeah.
Empathy and sociological imagination. So that would be something else I'd want to see in the output, which again goes to having them assume that there's three different readers or users of the output. Do they have, did they prompt in such a way that it came across with empathy or sociological imagination? And furthermore, did they, instead of starting with the human and having AI enhance it, did they start with the AI and human enhance it at the end?
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Ha. So you need to look at chat history.
No, no, no.
Okay.
It's still just the output.
Okay. Okay.
You
Well, that
know,
makes sense.
it's still just the output.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That's no, that's an important point. I think we already hit it pretty hard in the last episode. But if you think you're gonna clean up and correct AI written texts, it's very difficult. It's very, very difficult. You lose. It's hard to be skeptical of AI. It gets beneath our. It gets well. Yeah. I personally I find it difficult reviewing other people's work, written work, and it's AI written. Yeah. It just there's maybe it's the model I'm looking at. I don't know, but it's I find it very difficult to review, especially when people come back with, I don't know if you face this in your classes, but second and third drafts where they've started from scratch, and it's like, what are we doing? Because I've given you feedback on the first one. Now I got to review a whole new paper. Anyway, I think I'm letting my frustrations leak out into the podcast. Anyway,
Podcast as therapy. Okay,
yeah,
good.
exactly, exactly. Okay, I think we've wrung everything we can out of this one. I think. Hopefully, there was something useful in there, whether you're a hiring manager or a candidate to keep in mind. And yeah, until next time, cheerio.